Hi there, welcome to the Lovefly Fear of Flying Q&A. My name is Paul Tizard. I'm one of the admins for this amazing group. And I say amazing because it's made up of amazing people. We're now, oh my goodness, I just checked a minute ago. In the last week, we've welcomed in nearly 160 new members. Woohoo! I don't know where you all come from, but you're hugely welcome. And I'd love to know where, because we have a look at the welcome thing and it says recommended by someone. So who recommended us? And we'd love to know. So thank you for that. So we're up to just coming up to 4.2 thousand members now, which is phenomenal, and 4.2 thousand great humans that support each other, and and that's hopefully what you'll get from this group. It's not for everyone because sometimes we try and tell it like it is. We'll do a little bit about that today. But it's a place where you can get honest answers and you'll often get a lot of support from lots of people that you'll never ever meet. And so I think it's just mind-blowing and humbling for us looking on as the admins. So massive, massive welcome to the group. Thank you very much. So most of the things that you'll need to find in here, you've got obviously there's the Lovefly Facebook group, there's got Instagram, which is Lovefly Team, sorry, Lovefly Help, YouTube, which is Lovefly Team, and you've also got the Lovefly podcasts, which are on most platforms. So there's tons and tons of free support out there for you if you need it. The other thing that you might find is that we've brought lots of things together and we have some curated content as well. So you can get from our lovefly.co.uk website, which is lovefly.co.uk. If you want some extra help, we have some face-to-face courses coming up. We've got one in April in Manchester. We're working on some other dates in other places, but there's only a few places left on that one. So we'd love to get that one full because it's the first face-to-face we've done for a while, even though personally I've been running Fear of Flying courses since 1997. So seen thousands of people just like you come through these courses. But so there's the face-to-face course. We've also got the 30-day program, which is massively popular. And a lot of people download that and they find that it's really, really helpful. And I think there's even an on-demand webinar still available on the site at the moment, which was recorded in the last 18 months, maybe 12 months. So it's very up to date and it gives you some instant help if that's what you want. Okay, so enough of that. Let's get on to the Q&A. And then I'll also mention about the podcasts that are coming up. I'm hoping that you enjoyed the one this week that came out, episode 160, which was Captain John Tye, who is finished his career as a training captain at British Airways, but he also was a Concorde pilot. He wrote his book, which was From the Orphanage to the Edge of Space, which is just fantastic. It was a lovely interview as well, really, really good. We're very blessed with the interviews that we've had for the podcast, and John was no exception. I'll tell you about this week's one as well that's coming up. Another real corker that John Bond managed to find. So we've got some really interesting. We get really lucky to have such a good range of guests come through from people who've beaten their fear of flying, overcome it, or still facing it, and also technical experts and people kind of giving you extra information to help you with your fear of flying. So first question comes from Kelly. I've just started listening to the podcast, flying to MCO, it's Orlando if I remember correctly, in April. Fear is now kicking in more than ever. Are there any techniques you can recommend to help try and stay calm? I'm petrified of turbulence. As soon as any bump is felt on the flight, my head starts thinking the aircraft is damaged and it's going to crash. Okay, so straight away it's not, but okay, that's understandable. Okay, the thing I'll say with this is that you've still got a bit of time. There's not any particular technique that I would recommend. I think it's about immersion. And so I heartily recommend diving into the podcast, even if it feels uncomfortable, particularly the ones about turbulence. And we've got a few that talk about turbulence, some of the very early ones, which just focus on turbulence, and listen to them until you're sick to death, because what you're trying to do is retrain your automatic thought patterns. I want you to get to a point where you know the next phrase that Captain Steve's going to come out of his mouth, because when you get to that point, there's a good chance that you can steady yourself enough to then realize that what you're thinking isn't helpful for you. So rather than sort of beating yourself up, going massively into it, just play these when you're driving somewhere in the background, just to the point where you get sick and tired of it. Now, this is a good place to be because it'll then help you to reinforce like some different thinking approaches with this fear of flying, in particular linked to turbulence. I could say that there's other things that are very, very helpful, like the episode 69, which is the audio book, where I take you through stages of flight, for the relaxation at the end, which is also separate in episode 44 of the Lovefly podcast. And check out Pete Higgins' checklist, which is available in the files section of this Lovefly Facebook group. But it also can be emailed to you if you're desperate. You can't download it. Some people say they're having problems with that. It could normally, because you're going in on, because I can go in and get it anytime. And some other people told me they have no problems. Sometimes it could be like on iPhones or certain platforms. It just does something weird. I don't know why. Just the way it is. So that's what I would suggest. Okay. The next one. This is from Barney James. Due to fly to Menorca in May, and already I feel scared. I hate boarding. When they shut the doors to take off, I shake and start going into a panic attack. I really feel like cancelling. Is there anywhere that I could sit that doesn't make me feel like I'm on a plane? If this makes sense. Thanks in advance for helping people like me. You're welcome. So this is my approach to this. I don't think you're going about this the right way. So forgive me being direct. You've actually got plenty of time. You've got 3 or 4 months before you travel. You've got time to really tackle this. Now, whether you do our 30-day program or whether you just consume all the positivity in this Lovefly Facebook group, or you listen to the podcast or read all the posts, but you've got time to think about this differently. Because the reality is, you can look at the door thing shutting one of two ways. And this is from somebody who was a former claustrophobic who taught me this. And they said, I used to think, I don't want to be trapped in here. I'm stuck. I can't get out. I can't get out. When they shut that door. So if I see it, if I'm near it, then I want to make a run for it. Well, these are all normal expressions of fears of flying, is that you want to flee. This is all normal. So putting yourself at the back of the aircraft or away from it so you can pretend you're not flying is not going to help you in the long term. That's a short-term strategy, okay? And we don't want you to have a short-term strategy, not really. If you're flying tomorrow, then I'd say something like that. But for today, you've got time to address this and start to think about this scenario. Because, like, for example, coming and sitting on our course in Manchester, if you're in the UK, you could sit in an aircraft environment where you shut the doors. And even though the aircraft is not going to take off, it's an environment to get you familiarized with that. So in the absence of that, then watching there's so much footage on YouTube and things that you can just watch. So for example, who's that guy? Noel Phillips. He films himself on so many flights. You could just sort of watch those on YouTube and just get used to sort of familiarize yourself with like that experience. Just it's about immersion, going towards the fear rather than away from it. And one of the things that the claustrophobic said and she said she thinks about it differently now. She thinks it's not that I can't get out to shut the door. The buggers can't get in. No one can get me. I've got this private time where I don't get disturbed by anybody, where I can just do what I want to do. Obviously, if you've got kids with you and stuff, that's a different scenario because then you're entertaining them. But this is a private experience where I can then just focus on me traveling somewhere, and the buggers can't get in. No one can get me. Work can't get to me. I can choose to isolate myself, and it's that splendid isolation that I absolutely adore when I fly. And that's the gift I'd love to give to you, because it's just one of those things that flying at the moment, although unfortunately you can't get Wi-Fi now and access the world, which some people find helpful, by the way, because they can contact people on the ground and stuff. But I used to love the fact that you have some isolation from it. So I think for you, you've got time to go towards this rather than trying to sort of find ways to avoid it and not think about it. And definitely do not cancel. Why would you do that when you've got, our life is so short, and it's about making memories, isn't it? I know that sounds a bit cheesy and melodramatic, but you never know. And it's not going to happen on flight. It's the safest place you're going to be anywhere. In fact, like I've always said, if you want to live longer, you should fly more, because the safety that's in place and all the backups, the procedures, the training, the medical care, everything, la 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 la, there's so much in place that it just is the safest place to be. So, and really, the reason we fly places is that we have experiences and we can live our lives. And that's what I really, really desire for you, is that you have that experience, and you've got time. We've got a few months now to completely change the way that you think about it. So if you don't believe me, there's people on some of these podcast episodes. If you look at some of the fear of flying stories, there's some people have done it in literally 30 days. I know our program's 30 days, but they've literally gone, I've got a month to sort my head out. And they've managed to do it. I would give yourself a bit of a longer run up, because it's not a race, but you've got 2 to 3 months. Start today and do something every single day, whether it's listen to a podcast, come onto the Facebook group, talk to people, get some reassurance until you start to notice that the symptoms decrease. And that is what will happen if you keep moving towards the fear. And a lot of people say, like, oh, yeah, really, give me the old side eye. Don't believe you. I promise you, though, once you start to move towards it, I mean, in a gentle way, not attack it, but just explore, be curious. What is my process? Why do I do this to myself? How do I know when to get scared? What is it that I do that makes me scared? What am I doing that's different to anybody else? Then we can start to separate ourselves from this thing, which automatically can send us into a spiral. So by just observing, being curious, listening to stuff, feeding our brains with useful information, it's amazing what we change. Okay, I hope that's helpful and not patronizing. Just going to have a quick look to see if anybody else is on the site, because sometimes when people go, hi Pete, I know you're watching. John, I see you're watching as well. Can't see anybody else at the moment. So if you have any other questions and you've missed your chance to post it before I came and did this, put them in the comments underneath somewhere in the site and we'll answer them. So it's not, all is not lost. So coming up, this week's podcast, we have the passenger whisperer, as John Bolton called her, and she's the hand holder that works for Air Canada that went viral back in July time. So there was an image of her holding someone's hand who's a nervous flyer, and she's been flying for 20 odd years as cabin crew. Absolutely loves her job, loves helping people, and she was the podcast that we did. We got ready for you for this Wednesday. So the passenger whisperers, she's been nicknamed, but is fabulous. Laurie Nassau. She's really, really friendly, with lots of nice little tips in there for the nervous flyer. There's loads in the can. There's loads of potential ones. Yesterday, I recorded one. I'm not quite sure when we're releasing it, but you've mentioned it. And so John was able to track them down. So you've got Martin Seif and Sally Winston, who wrote 3 books, or 4 books actually, but 3 of them, and 2 of them have been mentioned in the Lovefly Facebook group as being highly recommended, which was Overcoming Anticipatory Anxiety, and the other one is about intrusive thoughts. And I spoke to them yesterday, did an interview with them. So once we've got that sort of finalized, we'll let you know when that's coming out. But that was really good, and it's interesting because I asked them for some strategies and stuff, like give us some strategies for anticipatory anxiety, and they said we don't really do that. It's so personalized, but you'll hear more about that in that episode when it comes up. But yeah, they're really good stuff. So don't forget, for those who want some extra help, we have got the 30-day program, the online webinar, and also the Manchester Fear of Flying course, which is face-to-face. So we'd love to see you at one of those things. And in the meantime, keep doing what you're doing, keep supporting each other, keep pushing forward with the fear, because as we always say, you were not born a nervous flyer. It's something that you've learned and then practiced until you've got really good at it. And it's never too late to learn something else. Right, folks, thanks ever so much for watching, and have a great week. Take care.